Hola, damas y caballeros. It's another edition of the Bleed Los podcast. This week's podcast is presented by our partners at BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, and events with first to market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, the NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, college football, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So if you head on over to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet, if you use our promo code BLEAV50, BLEAV 50, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Alicia Del Valle taking selfies per the usual. It's your boys Alonso y Juan, Babyface Gimmick in the Sky Roger, and La Princesa de Picolandia, Alicia del Valle. I wanted to start with one thing, if I could, Juan.
Absolutely, sir.
Because I know you're going to gloat a little bit about the negativity and all that stuff about the Dodgers losing. So let's get that shit out of the way. So the Dodgers dropped 2 to your New York Metropolitans. Are you worried now? Are you concerned? Are you going to?
I was concerned all along. You guys are the ones that are telling me I have nothing to worry about. Everything is fine. Sunshine in the world. Like completely ignoring the fact. Okay, let's see. Today they scored.
Real quick, you said they were going to lose 4 games. They won the trip, so that's a win.
Oh, okay, I see. So they lost 2 out of 3 against the second best team in the National League, and you're not concerned about that? You're not concerned by the fact that they scored 2 runs today, they scored 1 run yesterday, that this is what happens when you face good pitching?
The Mets didn't score that much as well either.
That much? They scored more than we did?
Today they scored 5 runs. That was the highest scoring game.
And yesterday they scored 1 more run than we did.
The other games, but they were still low scoring against Tyler Anderson. Right? Did you think that they were going to get shut down by Tyler Anderson?
They didn't get shut down by Tyler Anderson. They scored more runs than we did.
They scored 2 runs off Tyler Anderson.
And how many did we score off of DeGrom?
I'm just saying, did you think...
How many did we score off of DeGrom, sir?
We scored 1. We could have scored 2 if it wouldn't have been for a great catch, right? So you sound like the people that are tweeting like the sky is falling because they lost 2 games to the Mets.
Because this is what can happen in the playoffs. This is what can happen in the playoffs. This is all I'm saying to you people. You guys think they're going to march through these teams.
Whoa.
And they're not.
No. I did not say anything. Don't put me in that category.
First of
all this revisionist history right now, all of a sudden.
Juan, I'm gonna. So while you continue to spiral down the rabbit hole of fucking pain, I just out of curiosity, who was the first team in baseball to 90 wins?
The Dodgers.
Okay, sick. Who is the closest team to even remotely being close to where they are in the wins category?
In what league?
Any league in baseball.
I think it's the Astros.
And do you know by how many?
I don't know the exact number. So
6.5.
Does your record in the regular season count for wins in the postseason?
Hold on. Stop the car. So you're going to sit here and tell me that right now that the Dodgers, who are also having a little bit of difficulty with some health things, who have a cushy...
There you go.
Hold on. They have a cushy position to be able to take the foot off the gas pedal a little bit in the month of September, so that way they, I don't know, don't waste all of their bullets before the playoffs. It's not okay for them to do that?
Yeah, it is okay for them to do that.
So then why is the sky falling?
Because this can happen in the playoffs. So
again,
this great season that they're having, this season where it's record-setting, you know what's going to happen. We're going to be the Seattle Mariners. We will be talked about as the Seattle Mariners.
So hold on. So you're going to, just to take a step back, I was trying to do the positive Paula Abdul, but fuck that at this point. You're going to sit here and tell me that the Dodgers are going to be the Seattle Mariners and have a cataclysmic failure. Should we you want to talk about revisionist history? They had the gas pedal going 100 miles an hour in 2019, and what good did that do them?
Who the Dodgers did in 2019?
Were they not leaps and bounds the best baseball team that season when they went out and lost to the Washington Nationals in the first round of the playoffs?
Right, which is exactly what I'm saying could happen again this year.
Okay, now but what I'm saying is they had the gas pedal all the way through. You want them to have the gas pedal all the way through.
The thing with Juan is he is so butthurt from Tom Niedenfuer that he cannot get past any playoff series. That once you get to the playoffs, yes, you can lose, but it's the freaking playoffs. The best of the best. That's what's going to happen. You play the season, and once you get to the playoffs, you hope you can win it all, of course.
And then I have made no secret about what my mentality is. I hope the Dodgers win. I expect them to lose. That has always been my mantra. That has always been my mantra. Go ahead, Alicia.
Even just saying that I expect them to lose hurts me to my core.
No, that's called cringe, Juan.
Okay, so this series, first of all, means way more to the Mets, does it not?
Yes.
Because 100%. They don't go to the playoffs every year like the Dodgers do. They haven't been there since 2016. They were, to use Alonso's expression, all hands on deck, right? They played it like it was a playoff game.
Yeah. They freaking brought out their
I'm glad that the Dodgers got a look at DeGrom. They haven't seen him in years. I'm glad that they got to see Diaz, right? Oh, Diaz, the trumpet. I'm glad that of course I want my Dodgers to win at all times, and I know they can win. Yeah. But that's what these kinds of series are for, before the playoffs. So I'm not worried. The sky is not falling. People are jumping off cliffs and losing their minds because the Dodgers lost to the Mets, but I'm not panicking. This is supposed to happen. Now is the time to figure it out. 100%. And that's with injuries and everything. And the way they lost today, it's sloppy. They're not, they, like Alonso said, they took their foot off the pedal. It's not as extreme for them. And you have this atmosphere where the Mets fans, it makes their whole year to beat the Dodgers. Everybody, the Dodgers have the biggest target on their back. So I'm not worried. I don't expect them to lose. I'm happy that this went down. Not that they lost, but that they saw the pitchers that they saw, that they tried out the pitchers that they did, Dodgers pitchers. We'll see what happens. They know what they're doing. I have 100% faith in the Dodgers.
Dave Roberts even said in Miami, bro, that right now they're trying to figure out whose job is going to be what in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They have an 8, and you know why they can do that? Because they have an 18-game lead in the division. Let me repeat that one. They have an 18-game lead on the division. I know you have, just to use another analogy that's applicable here, I know you've suffered years of abuse being a Raiders fan.
Dang.
But the caveat here is the Los Angeles Dodgers, this current iteration, is not the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders. Their whole thing is championship, right? They've even said so themselves. It would be super cool to get that all-time wins record, but what does that do for you in the postseason? Because the ultimate thing that everyone's going to remember is what? A world championship. So does that make you feel a little better, or do we need to continue to subscribe to a little bit more, pain and years of abuse?
There is nothing that you guys can say to me today that will make me feel better about this team until they win the World Series. Until I actually see them hosting up the trophy, in the back of my mind, there is the fear that they're going to lose. Because
what in 2020?
That's 2020. What year are we in right now, Rip Van Winkle? Stop living in the past.
It's better than 1988, right?
Rip.
Yeah, but we're moving on from that now, man. We are talking all season long. All we've talked about is how great the Dodgers are. This is a great team. This is a great team, right? They're not even trying, and they're beating people, right? So that should equate to a championship.
So you're going to tell me
is until we get that championship, that's when I will rest and be able to enjoy it. Up until then, what I hear is Dave Roberts saying, it is alarming to me the amount of times that Chris Taylor strikes out. That's Dave Roberts, not me. It is Dave Roberts saying it's alarming to him that Chris Taylor. So when you say that they took their foot off the gas, does that mean that if they put the foot if they would have kept their foot on the pedal, Gavin Lux is a great defensive player? Because Babyface was saying something different before it. Right, Babyface. You were. Who was the curse? Who was the curse that you said?
Well,
today?
he doesn't subscribe to Jesus. Is what
today was on Lux, right? He makes
just today though. That doesn't make it a curse.
Well,
How
like
many times have we said it was on Lux?
But on, like Alicia was saying, it was sloppy play. They got sloppy right there.
That's why they lost. It's not lack of talent. I mean, the Dodgers are stacked on stacked on stacked. It is like an abundance of riches. I'm not worried. Chris Taylor, if that's the weak link, that's one out of, I mean, we have, even the sorriest guys are better than most players on other teams.
Do you know what Freddie Freeman said? MVP candidate Freddie Freeman said today?
What?
I don't think you should read anything into the loss. So if Freddie Freeman is saying that, who next to Paul Goldschmidt's probably the best first baseman in the National League, also plays for the Los Angeles Dodgers, it doesn't want anyone to read too much into it. Oh, go ahead.
The Dodgers have now seen the Mets' hand.
Yep.
They have nothing else. Where we're still, I mean, Alonso Roberts is talking about, we're still figuring out the roster. We're still seeing where pieces are going to go. Trace Thompson, Gallo, all of that is still being worked out. And the pitching situation is like Trinan is coming back. I mean, there's still things. The Mets haven't seen our best at our best yet. We've seen the Mets at their best, and I'm not worried. I'm not.
There's a comment, and now you know that Juan is completely off the edge when Sports Empire saying that Juan woke up to the Angelos violence.
He's a Raiders fan.
Look, what I am telling you guys is this. Okay, you guys say, hey, Chris Taylor's striking out. Don't worry about it. He's not going to play. Okay, if Chris Taylor's not going to play, that means Cody Bellinger's going to play.
But I didn't say that
either.
Do
you guys think Cody Bellinger is offensively just burning it up right now?
Again, it's like one guy out of.
But it's not one guy. Now it's two guys.
Hold on.
Now it's 2/3 of our outfield.
Is also coming back from an injury. So you mean to tell me that just because granted, he did his rehab assignment and he looked fine, but he's still adjusting and coming back from an injury, you're telling me that he's not allowed a little bit of a learning curve to adjust again after being out for, I don't remember, he was out for a month?
No, he is absolutely allowed. What I am reacting to is the manager of the baseball team telling the media, not keeping it with him himself, but announcing it to the media that he is alarmed by the amount of number of times that Chris Taylor strikes out.
But you don't think
so that means you can't play him, right?
To light a fire under his ass? Managers do that shit all the time.
Look, but that same thing happened to Max Muncy. Do you think Max Muncy wanted to suck in the beginning of the season?
No, but
it wasn't a lack of effort. I don't think it's a lack of effort with Chris Taylor.
But those are two completely different situations. And truthfully, not even fair to equate.
But we're getting closer to the playoffs. We're running out of time. If he doesn't figure it out by the playoffs, that means he's not playing, right? Because the same way we saw, if Kimbrel's struggling, the Dodgers aren't going to put him out there. So now we have less and less people that we can play. We already struggled against DeGrom.
So you mean to tell me
mowed us down.
So to Alicia's point, the Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles, who are incredibly stacked, even in the minor league system, who have options that they can bring up, aren't allowed to play around with their lineup and tinker with it to be like, hey, maybe this guy won't be ready for the first playoff series. Maybe, I don't know, let's give James Outman a call.
So do you think Dave Roberts, who favors veterans, is all of a sudden going to start playing minor leaguers in the playoffs?
Miguel Vargas was in the taxi squad and is getting called up. Why the hell not? If you have the options, why the hell not?
In the playoffs, last year.
In the playoffs, gentlemen, because you are the stats geeks, how does Chris Taylor's performance in the playoffs stand up to historic, like to history?
Like in comparison to like the regular season?
I'm just saying, isn't he known to come through during the playoffs?
Because he hit the home run against the Cardinals?
He's a reliable bat. Yeah.
He's reliable. I mean, maybe that's why they keep him around. I don't know. Again, I'm putting maybe blindly my faith in what the Dodgers are doing. They know.
I don't think they're going to DFA Chris Taylor. What I'm saying is the baseball gods, I believe, are angry because these injuries are not coming at the right time. People going into slumps and struggling, this is not the time you want them to go into slumps when the playoffs start. I mean, it's September 1st.
Well, actually, it's a pretty good time because most slumps, when a player goes slump, it's about 2-3 weeks, and then they come out of it. When will that be? Playoff time, right?
I hope you're right, because Max Muncy, I'm sure, was telling himself it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Cody Bellinger, I think, was telling himself at the same time it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks.
You on the show have been one that said Cody Bellinger gets his big hits. You've been one of those that Cody Bellinger gets his hits.
No, that's Alonso. Alonso's argument is that he's a clutch player, and he showed it in the playoffs. He was the one that stepped up last year. What I am saying is, this is the playoffs, and if this team does not win, this is the same thing that Dylan Hernandez wrote, and he got crapped on. If this team doesn't win the World Series, it's a bust year. We will be talked about and made fun of the same way the Seattle Mariners were made when they broke the record. That's what I'm saying is there is a possibility that could happen, and we should be prepared for that. If it does happen.
No, the reason I'm not prepared for it yet is because A, we're not in the playoffs, and B, you don't know whose jobs, as far as roster stuff goes, is going to have what job or whatever position come playoff time, because they're figuring that out. It's September 1st one. It's not now. If this conversation was, I don't know, September 20th, different story, right? But September 1st, rosters just expanded today. And you're going to sit here and tell me that I should be worried that the sky is falling because the Dodgers are going to lose the World Series. Then in that case, then what's the point of getting to the postseason?
Yeah, I think what it is I'm the only one that has the Kirk Gibson attitude.
No.
And you guys are all Kenley Jansen.
That's fake.
You're
news.
all who cares.
That's
you guys are
news.
like, who cares? That's all it is. I am Kirk Gibson saying, you know what? This is why you guys have never won a championship.
Are you calling yourself a red ass right now? Because I beg to differ, sir. I beg to differ that you're a red ass. I would say more pessimistic ass, but not a red ass.
I just don't think it's good losing 2 out of 3 to the team that is the second best team in the NL.
But we never see them. The Dodgers don't. This is the time to see them and figure it out. It's not the playoffs.
To Alicia's, Buck Showalter said after the damn game that if there's a team that can take they don't have to be on 100%, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he even said so himself that it's good for his guys to know that they can go out and beat the Dodgers. Cool. But the Dodgers themselves, Freddie Freeman, who I think it's fair to say is a leader in that clubhouse, obviously a very good baseball player, came out and just said to not look too much into that loss. And you know what? I tend to side with Freddie Freeman because you're not going to win every damn game either. But also, you don't want to show the Mets your hand. And also, Clayton Kershaw's first start coming back from injury.
He looked good.
He did. And the preposterous thing is that's not Kershaw 100%. And you sit here and sit on a throne of lies and expect me to side with you that the Dodgers are going to just let the trophy get away from them like it's already in their hands. Bro, you still have to get to the postseason where anything can happen. CC the 2019 Los Angeles Dodgers.
Juan, do you think the Mets just kicked the Dodgers' ass over these 3 games? Those, like you say, those games could have gone either way. All 100%. 3 games could have gone either way.
Yep.
Yeah, they could have, but they didn't. That's what I'm focusing on.
And that's the years of abuse coming out.
In Babyface, I respect what he's saying. It was not, none of them were dominant blowouts. DeGrom, the East Coast bias was alive and well after DeGrom won. Like, good Lord, we get it. Calm down.
And even at that,
but that guy deserves it. The guy's a hell of a pitcher.
You don't think Tyler Anderson matched him though that game?
No, he didn't match him because Tyler Anderson gave up 2 runs and Jacob DeGrom only gave up 1.
Did you think Tyler Anderson was going to give only 2 runs?
So when Sandy Koufax wins 1-0, that pitcher matched Sandy Koufax?
But no, you're missing the point. You're trying to think
what point am I missing?
Like Tyler Anderson, did he not pitch a good game?
Tyler Anderson pitched a good game.
That's a quality start, though.
And what I'm saying is Tyler Anderson could pitch a good game in the playoffs, and the Dodgers could lose.
So if Finding Nemo doesn't catch that ball and Justin Turner hits the home run, DeGrom gives up 2 runs, then what?
Hold on. Did you just call him Finding Nemo?
Nemo caught the ball. That's stuff that happens in the playoffs.
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo. I've never heard that one.
Like, if Cody Bellinger doesn't catch that ball in the Padres series when the Dodgers win the World Series, then what happens?
But that again, to your point about revision.
But Cody Bellinger caught the ball, so there's a difference.
The damn ball. How are you going to sit here and try to revise that and then catastrophize it and then blow it up into like the Dodgers sucking? You can't do that.
I'm not saying the Dodgers are sucking. What I am saying to you guys is that there's other good teams, like the way Dontrell says it. Those guys drive nice cars too.
And
there is a possibility. Nothing is given that just because this team has a great regular season record, it doesn't mean that this is going to translate to postseason success. We've seen it happen many times. The divisional series is only 5 games.
I say screw it. Screw the season next season and just start in the playoffs. That's it. That's the only way it's going to make.
And then here is the other point that I was trying to make.
Yes.
The playoffs are longer now, so you're telling me that the Dodgers having the luxury of being able to take their foot off of the gas pedal to figure out who is going to be where on the roster and what their job is going to be for the postseason. They're not allowed to do that and then drop a couple games to not show their hand to the second best team in the league. Get out of here. Get out of here with that.
No one is saying they're not. This is exactly
You are.
No, what I am saying, I think I'm saying two different things. They are allowed to do this. What I am saying is, guys, the Mets are good.
Right.
And the Mets beat us this series. The Mets could beat us in the postseason. You guys don't think so. You guys think that series is going to be the Dodgers, and I hope you guys are right.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that if the Dodgers play to their full potential, and they have whatever they need sorted out on their roster, that the Mets can bang with them? I don't think they can.
Yeah, I think they can.
I don't think they can, bro.
Tyler Anderson pitched to his full potential, and then he lost.
I don't. I mean, if that were the case, then why haven't the Padres won the damn division?
Right. Are we going to go down every pitching scenario? They didn't see all of our best pitchers.
They didn't.
So I'm confident.
Yeah. I mean, again,
I'll give them the DeGrom game, guys. Alonso Babyface. That's not going to win it.
No.
One DeGrom win, right? Because he's like the second coming according to MLB, but it's not going to win it all. And I'm still confident in the Dodgers. Of course, I know there are good teams. That's why we love baseball. I still believe that we have the best team with the best chances currently, right now, even after those losses.
Even with them not being fully healthy, I still give the Dodgers the edge, and that's solely because they have the depth. Mookie Betts said it best, and I agree with him, that Jacob DeGrom may be one of the best that has ever done it, right? And to his credit, he is. But Max Scherzer is not what Max Scherzer used to be. No disrespect to him. He's still a great starter. And then who do you have going after that?
The guy who pitched today and shut them down.
So you're going to sit here and tell me that Jacob DeGrom, Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett are better than Julio Urias, Dustin May, Tyler Anderson, Andrew Heaney,
Kershaw,
Clayton Kershaw. Should I keep going?
No,
come on, dude.
But that's just assuming that Dustin May is going to be in the playoff rotation. We don't know what these guys are
even if he comes out in relief.
So that's the same thing for the Mets. DeGrom has a history of injuries. Scherzer, he gets tired out and he can't go.
No, but we know DeGrom is going to pitch.
If he doesn't get hurt,
you know that 100% that he's going to pitch.
That's the thing with Jacob DeGrom. If there's a knock on Jacob DeGrom, it's been his consistent health. That's the only knock on the guy. No one's ever knocked his stuff. No one's ever knocked his ability. It's just been staying healthy, right?
Remember when the Mets beat us in the playoffs? And that guy Jacob DeGrom pitched at Dodger Stadium?
And how long ago was that?
7 years ago.
Okay, 7. And then who was on that roster? As far as pitching goes.
He's done it, right? So this idea that he's never pitched in the playoffs.
Tom Segura is going to come out for the Dodgers and he's going to give up a bomb. That's what's going to happen.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Dude, at this point, not only was that a different decade ago, that was a really long time ago. That iteration of the Dodgers is not – this Dodgers team may be one of the best teams that's ever been constructed. Ever. Not just for the Dodgers. Ever. And you could put that up against those Yankees teams from way back in the day. This is a really good team. And you're going to sit here and
I like that one wants us to prepare for the worst, right? That's I think, is that what your goal is?
Yeah, it is. Because this is what's going to happen.
Why not swing it the other way? What is so hard about preparing to win?
That's like going into a fight and getting ready to get hit in the face.
Oh, I mean, I'm probably going to lose, but I might as well fight anyway. No, you have to believe. The way it's set up right now, even with the losses, they haven't even seen the Dodgers' best stuff.
Nope.
The pitcher Bassett today, it was sloppy Dodgers playing that lost the game.
Yep.
There was nothing magical, and the slumps of a couple of players, and that I told you this series meant more to the Mets, to those fans as well, than what we're good. We're so spoiled. We go to the playoffs every year that we're kind of used to it. And I don't take it for granted. I'm just saying I'm glad that this happened, not the losses, but that they saw the Mets best and that they are using these losses to figure out how to prepare for when we see them in October, because it looks like we're going to. And they even get some time off and to heal up and get it together and fortify their plan against the Mets, right? The MLB's beloved Mets. So I'd rather focus on how things should go right than preparing for them to lose.
Let me ask you something, Juan.
Yes, sir.
In the 2020 World Series, what do you think Chris Taylor's just slash line was?
I don't know. I mean, it was probably average.
217. He had 11 strikeouts, 1 walk, 5 hits, and he had, I believe, 3 RBIs. So you're going to sit here and tell me, for a guy that strikes out a lot, that Dave Roberts is alarmed by, who had 11 strikeouts in a World Series, which ultimately they won, that's the guy that you're worried about when you have Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner. Should I keep going? Because
that's the top of the lineup,
right? And then your bottom of the lineup, even when Gavin Lux is on, he's on, right? There's some other guy named Max Muncy.
What an amazing year, Lux.
Yeah, some other jabroni named Max Muncy who's also figuring out at the right time. So you're going to sit here and tell me that I should be worried about those guys when at the same time Chris Taylor hit 217 in the World Series in 2020 that they ultimately won with 11 strikeouts. I'm not worried. Because at the end of the day, too, Chris Taylor has had his playoff moments, right? He's a super utility guy. That dude probably would be an everyday player elsewhere, except he's opted to stay here and take less money as well to be with this team to win. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right, is winning. So, go ahead, Roger.
I was going to say, and you know what else we're overlooking because Juan's being a negative Nancy?
Dang.
Who's the only one pretty much on the Mets that did pretty good? Starling Marte. Did we expect Starling Marte? What happened to Pete Alonso? He got shut down. That's the guy you would think was going to do the damage, right? But he got shut down.
And that's the quiet part out loud, right? Is the Mets? Yeah, the Dodgers played sloppy, and I'm not going to sit here and say that also the Dodgers just laid down and took it, right? The Mets simply outplayed the Dodgers. They played smarter baseball. That's what happened. But when the lights are the brightest, you have plenty of guys with the Dodgers that can figure it out and they can get it going. If I was worried about the Dodgers, come on, dude. How loud would I be about being worried about the Dodgers? I'm not worried about it, dude. This is the time where they figure it out. This isn't, honestly, you really think that this team, when we look back on it in hindsight, even 20 years from now, even if they don't win a championship, it's one of the best teams that's ever been put together. And the reason I say that is because baseball is a game of history, right? So when you go back and you look at all these lineups, this is one of the best teams that's ever been put together. Ever.
Absolutely.
Ever. And it's built to win. The thing that you don't want them apparently to do, they're built to win.
No, I want them to win. I just don't share in your guys' optimism that it's a done deal, that they're going to win.
You know what?
That's how I know you're a Raiders fan.
When me, Alicia, and Alonso go to the parade, Juan's not going with us.
Yeah.
He's not allowed.
That's fine. I'll watch on TV. I'll watch on TV. I just there are things. Look, I thought they were going to win. I thought they were going to win last year.
But also, you can't.
I thought they were going to win last year, and guess what? Atlanta was pretty damn good.
Right, but that's why they won the championship.
Right. So
yeah, but this team is better than last year's team.
Yes,
Philip, don't encourage him. Don't encourage him.
don't feed the gimmick, please don't, because then it just gets worse from there. And by the way, for all of you that are joining us, thank you for joining us. We appreciate the engagement. Philip, I'm not going to acknowledge what you just said. That we should block him actually for that. Sports Empire also. What did Sports Empire say? We get complacent because they look good on paper. Listen, man, I agree with that, but at the same time, they look good in person too. They won 90 games
on paper.
Yeah,
Can you just not go over the dominance of.
They are the best team in baseball, and it's not
the
even
Dodgers'
close.
Worst players are better than so many other players throughout the league.
And that's not even to disrespect the rest of the league, because, like Dontrell said,
it's
they drive $100,000 cars too, right? But
yes.
the Dodgers are the nicer car right now. But I listen. If you're joining us,
what's up, Ramos? What's up, Galley Fizzle? Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you for joining us. Chime in. See if you agree with Juan. I'll politely ignore you. But if you, I'm kidding. But
I'm being censored. I'm being censored.
Are you going to go that route now that you're being censored? If only they heard you in real life, bro.
Juan, can I ask one?
Sure.
Yes.
What would it take for you to feel confident with this team
when they win the World Series?
That's what I was going to say.
That's it. Nothing. Because they cannot statistically, historically, the Dodgers cannot win every single game.
It's impossible.
And it's fine, because to me, the regular season, I know, is over. I know the regular season doesn't mean anything anymore because they've already locked the division. All this is about the playoffs. Okay, so they are more than likely going to get the Bravos in the second round, because I think the Show Pods are going to end up with the 5 seed. I think the Phillies are going to drop off to the 6. The Bravos and the Show Pods, I mean, the thing is that series is only going to go 3 games. So, I don't know how much they're really going to take out of one another in 3 games, but we're either going to get the Bravos or we're going to get the Show Pods in the second round. The Bravos, they're a good team. They got a good lineup. And I know you guys think, well, today was, they gave the game away. I remember watching the World Series in 2022 when they couldn't throw to home and they ended up losing a game in Game 5. Luckily, the next day, Blake Snell got taken out. Those little things.
Hold on.
I also remember Bill Buckner letting a ball go through his legs. Things can happen. And one game can change.
That Juan remembers.
That's what I like. Listen,
what's the movie, the Jim Carrey Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless
The Spotless Mind. That's what I need.
In one of those chairs right now.
You're absolutely right, Alicia. I cannot do the Yoda thing and unlearn what I have seen. And it's funny that you say this, because one of our listeners, the great Oscar Basulto, told me this, and he wanted to challenge you on this, Alicia. This whole argument of Dodger fans are spoiled. He was just like, tell that to the Brooklyn Dodger fan. Tell that to the Dodger fan who grew up in the 70s and saw their teams lose in the World Series all the time.
I cannot speak for something that I am not part of. Currently, for almost a decade now, Dodger fans have been spoiled. I'll stand by that.
Yeah.
But of course, I remember the drought. I remember the McCourt years. I remember all of that desmadre. But currently, we are spoiled. And not just with the Dodgers winning, but the experience of going to Dodger Stadium, of having of being in LA, which I don't think we get respect for throughout the rest of the league and from other fans. I literally just heard a nationally syndicated radio star that we are forced to listen to on the mornings here.
Dang.
Like, just poo-poo LA fans. We don't care about baseball. We don't know what did he say? LA doesn't care about college football. Have you been to a USC football game, especially when we're winning? Like, we sell out the Coliseum. Like, the disrespect is so rampant. So yes, I might throw around that word spoiled too often, but right now, currently, we are spoiled. In fact, Babyface, I want a shirt. Please make me a shirt that says spoiled in the logo of the Dodgers. I want it to be like spoiled right there.
Well, and to push back a little bit on Oscar, to use another comparison, so you mean to tell me that because, for instance, the New York Yankees, they're really good in the 90s. Really good in the 90s, right? The late 90s, early 2000s. Because they were so successful, and then after George passed away, God rest his soul, they weren't very good. That means that everyone has to suffer because of that. No, that's dumb. That's really dumb. Because
ask Alicia's friend Nick Turturro if he suffers.
But even at that, but again,
right, Alicia?
Dang, yeah.
I mean, and his team is the team that has won the most World Series in the history of the sport. But if you watch Nick Turturro, you would think his team never won a championship ever. Like he was a Cubs fan or something like that.
Well, but again, to
he's also stuck in the past like someone else we know.
Yes, that's what I was going to say right there. Is bro, he's stuck in 1985 like you are apparently. Because
it's just you can't unlearn that stuff.
Even when you're
trauma, if you experience trauma, you can't just tell someone who's experienced trauma, forget about it, put it behind you.
No, I'm not saying
the trauma has become a part of who you are.
Right, but I mean, when you're watching a team that is the Los Angeles Dodgers, this current team that has not only 3 pitchers in the NL that are top 5 in wins and ERA, right? But they have this. I can't even find the stupid stat. I wrote it down. Their run differential is insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's one of the best ones ever. And you're going to sit here and tell me I wasn't even born in the 70s for starters, that I have to sit here and be in pain. I mean, the Lakers weren't very good in the early 90s, and I was around for that. After Magic went, Magic had to step away because of his reasons. The Lakers sucked. But I didn't sit here and say, oh, well, they're going to be bad, because what did the Lakers do? They figured out how to reload. What have the Dodgers done? They figured out how to reload, right? And yeah, the McCourt years are brutal. I remember that. But they weren't too bad because you had Eric Karros, you had Eric Gagne, you had a bunch of guys, Adrian Beltre. I mean, we could keep going for a little while longer because they had some guys too. They also, I mean, you said so yourself, that 99 team was a really good team and it didn't get the flowers that they deserve. So don't sit here and tell me that I have to feel bad about whatever when currently for the last 10 plus years, the Dodgers have been good. And I know, even the bit aside, right? I know we do a lot of bits on the show, and we're trying to do one to enter into the thing that we're about to do about the Padres. Even the Padres, who have loaded up for the last couple of years, they've loaded up, right? They've made moves. They've went out and got arms. I mean, one of the guys, Joe Musgrove, that's with the Padres. I have always wanted him to be a Dodger from the time that he was kind of a really good prospect to now, because the Dodgers are good at trading for prospects. They've loaded up and they've learned it's not easy. It's not easy to do that stuff and to go out there and to win a division every single year, or at least compete to win it for a division every single year. So I know you're stuck in 1985, the year before I was born, but I have moved on and understand that the Dodgers just won a championship 2 years ago. 2 years ago. And there's people in our market
and
that
we
have
should
said,
have won in 2017.
Yes.
So don't get me started on that.
No, that's its own thing. But there's people in our fucking market that have said that the Mookie Betts have asked if the Mookie Betts deal is bad. You got a championship out of it. How are you going to ask that preposterous question? So again, I lead into the Oscar thing. How I understand that years of abuse is a thing, and I know I joke about it. But right now, to Sports Empire's thing, on paper and in real life, the Dodgers are very good. And the Dodgers are in a cushy spot to be able to say, hey, we're going to chill out a little bit so we can figure out who's going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do in the postseason. And they're not going to win every game, man. And I'm cool with them not showing their hand to everybody.
She brought up the 2017. I want to publicly say this because there was something that happened that I find really interesting.
They banged trash cans.
I am no longer on the train that the Dodgers should have won in 2017.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if you guys have heard what Josh Reddick said. Did you guys?
And you're gonna believe what Josh Reddick said.
So listen.
No. This is what I'm getting to my point.
Okay, go ahead.
You didn't read the book when we had the guy who wrote Asterisk.
Andy Martino.
And I told you the number of times that Dodgers got mentioned in that book was a little concerning for me, but I dismissed it, right? Because I was so angry at the Astros. Now you got guys like Sandy Alcantara saying the Dodgers are cheating. You got guys like Josh Reddick. All I'm saying is this. I hope it's not true. But if something comes out we're going to look like, we've been bashing the Astros for so long, but if something comes out that the Dodgers were cheating, what are we going to do? Like, how do we defend that?
I can't live by what ifs. The Astros have.
The Astros were the 2017
that they cheated and they caused men to lose their livelihood.
Yes,
they cheated us out of our victory. That team was amazing that year, and yet I can't go by what ifs. I'll cross that bridge but right now that hasn't been proven, right? Nope.
Right.
What has been proven? They cheated. Yes. So I'm gonna stand by that. This live is giving me anxiety. I am so
just gonna have a panic attack,
bummed and like.
But listen, even then, we had Adrian Gonzalez on 2 years ago now. I can't remember how long it's been. It's been a while. Even he said to himself, the full truth hasn't come out, right? And it probably never will, because a lot of those guys keep all that shit close to the vest, right?
Yeah.
But even if it does come out and there is some damning evidence, they weren't. It's not, and I'm not even condoning cheating, because at the same time, if you ever played baseball, everyone cheats in some capacity. Everyone cheats. I don't give a fuck if you're the best player on the planet. Everyone tries to find a competitive edge, right?
That's the trying. Okay?
Right.
But now, the Astros did.
But the Astros, what the Astros did, the reason why the Astros thing is so bad, and I can't believe we have to fucking relitigate this again, the reason it's so bad is because that's leaps and bounds above the traditionalist cheating. It's one thing to steal signs. Everyone steals signs, right?
Yes.
Everyone does that shit. But it's another when you have figured out a way to invoke technology to steal those signs. That's why what the Astros did is so egregious. Because even if the Dodgers did try to find a competitive edge to try to compete with those other guys, everyone knows that every team does that. And I'm not condoning what the Astros did. If anything, I'm completely against what the Astros did, because even if no one's proved it, but if there was a buzzer, that's even worse than what they've said has been done. So don't give me that shit as far as like, oh, well, what if with the Dodgers? Because again, we live in absolutes. We can't live in what ifs, because are the Houston Astros still the 2017 World Series champions?
Yes, they are.
Okay, then there we go. Nothing changes. There's no asterisk. There's none of that shit. We can be petty about it. But the other part is everyone's moved on, because the Dodgers are the 2020 World Series champions. I mean, and if we really wanted to be petty, how many people are still pissed about, it's a Mickey Mouse championship? It's still a championship, right? And in my opinion, it's probably harder to win that than it would have been to win a regular World Series, because you won it in a bubble.
And that season was almost perfect for what Juan is arguing. They almost went straight into the playoffs.
Yeah. So again, at the end of the day, there's no point to relitigate that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bad shit that happened, right? Mm-hmm. But if we relitigate it, clearly baseball doesn't give a single shit, because if they did, then why is AJ Hinch managing again? If they really cared, why is Carlos Correa getting max deals more or less if it was that egregious?
I think this episode has become an episode of The Bear, because everyone on the live, I think, is experiencing anxiety, and it's uncomfortable.
I'm just fired up because I don't understand where your pain is coming from, as far as like, I understand where it comes from, but it doesn't make any damn sense. You're catastrophizing something that hasn't even happened yet.
No, but I find it really. Do you think that Reddick was just dismissed because he's just universally disliked? Like, nobody took what he said seriously at all. I don't hear anybody talking about Sandy Alcantara basically saying they knew what was coming. Like,
you know why? Because the Dodgers are just that good, dude.
So everybody's just accepted that?
I mean, if everyone thought that these guys were cheating, don't you think that somehow, some way, someone would find a way to source that and leak that out by this point?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you guys. I find it very interesting that this wasn't a bigger story.
Alicia, please.
To bring up the ex again.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Especially because this is public record, and
oh boy,
he's got a new girlfriend now.
Festivus is getting weird.
He is a scout for the Yankees. He and his friends that I've sat with at Dodger games all talked about how the Astros were dirty cheaters.
Yep.
different teams came into. Not any of them said to me, and they could have. Like I've known these guys for a couple years. No one was saying, "Oh, but the Dodgers," right? I mean, it was a consensus sitting behind home plate. Them saying, "Dirty cheaters."
Yeah, because what they did is leaps and bounds worse than just regular cheating.
Before 2007, it was before that. I'm sorry, it was during that season, by the way.
Yeah.
But you guys haven't noticed this stuff? Like a lot of the Padre fans have been accusing the Dodgers of cheating. And the fact that nobody has accused the Dodgers is not true. Remember in Andy Martino's book,
right,
the Brewers did file grievances against the Dodgers in that series in 2018 in the NLCS, but nothing was proven. Okay, but I just find all of a sudden this narrative that the Dodgers are cheaters, I'm curious as to where it's coming from.
Well, a lot of it's coming.
Coming from haters. Like they have to take us down. Whenever you're at the top, you have more and more stuff thrown at the wall to see what sticks. I agree with Alonso. In baseball, stealing signs, all of that is common. It's known. That's fine. But the technology part of it is what put the Astros over the top, and they knew what Kershaw was throwing. They knew what Rio was throwing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Darvish. Like it pisses me off more. I can't get over it because MLB didn't punish them, in my opinion.
And you know what?
Get over it.
And I would have done exactly what Joe Kelly did. I would have hit someone so fucking fast because at the end of the day, you're disrespecting the game. But that's completely different than if they're accusing the Dodgers of cheating and that's why they're so good. At some point there's going to be haters. I mean, to use a basketball analogy, remember how pissed off everyone was when Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh formed that super team in Miami?
Yeah.
And everyone was pissed. Oh, that's not fair. The Miami Heat made it work, right? And they went out and they destroyed everybody. Well, now, fast forward, that was in 2012? So fast forward almost 10 years. How many super teams on the NBA?
Yeah.
And everyone was so mad about that. The Warriors had a super team. The Warriors are a super team currently, right? You know, you have the Brooklyn Nets. There's all these little super teams, and all of a sudden it's cool to be a super team. The Dodgers are a super team. Like, they may not be labeled that, but they're a super team. Because I said so myself here. I never thought that they were going to go out and get Freddie Freeman. I didn't think he was going to come. I thought he was going to stay a Brave. Shit went sideways. He's a Dodger now. And you have Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Justin Turner, all these. That's a super team. And we haven't even gotten to Will Smith yet. We still haven't even talked about the pitching staff. That's a super team. So, of course, if they're going out there and winning with ease, of course people are going to think they're cheating. But even at that, what the Astros did is incredibly egregious. And if the people that should have lost their livelihood are people that are still working in the game, and that's a goddamn crime. That's a goddamn crime. And if the Padres are crying about cheating, I regret to inform you there is a guy that tried to cheat there. It's a little awkward, but that guy cheated, and he got busted for it. It's out in the open. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it.
The face of baseball, right, is on the Padres.
Simeon's right. The 2020 Lakers are labeled a super team. That's a perfect example. They went out and traded for Anthony Davis. I forget what year the Lakers traded for Pau Gasol. The Memphis Grizzlies are still waiting on their return for Pau Gasol. They have no idea what the hell they traded for that guy.
This shows gotten way off the track, so let's try and bring it back in a little bit.
It's because of the Festivus.
Our guests are ready to leave.
That's fine.
At the door,
the airing of grievances started 3 months early, and that's not my fault.
By the way, for those of you in the chat, these comments are cracking me up. If this has been a traumatizing episode for you and you don't want to see the family fight anymore and you just don't think this is not good, don't ever do this again, please let us know, because Philip Lopez chimed in with, been waiting for this type of conversation with all of you guys going back and forth. Welcome to the real Carne Asada. I'll bring the 24-pack of Modelos.
Well, it's because we are now
I feel
the
like
drunk
I need
ants.
one right now after this episode.
It's because we're
Sports
now
Empire thinks he's at Dodger Stadium. Dodger fans arguing amongst each other.
It's because we're now the drunk aunts and uncles at the fucking Carne Asada. That's us now. We've moved on.
The
We're
only
not even
what
drinking.
Whoa,
So
whoa! Don't take it
the only
personal
what
there.
if I'm ever gonna wonder about is what if Niedenfuer doesn't give up that homer? How is Juan's life different going forward? Now,
You know what?
If Marvel is listening, and Alicia, if you can get the contact, I
Please.
want them to make a what if Tom Niedenfuer never hits that home run.
Because there's a what if Marvel universe out there somewhere, and Juan's in it. And dude,
I'm remaking that movie and calling it La Vida Maravilla, and it's going to be about me looking back at my life if Tom Niedenfuer got Jack Clark out, and then the Dodgers went on to face the Royals. That's such a great concept for a movie right there, baby.
The part I don't understand about all this, Juan, is I understand that your sports fandom has given you pain. I understand that. What I don't understand is you're actually a fan of a good team, and you're still like, oh, I want to put that chingus. Like that's the part I don't get. You're an LAFC fan, and they're the bona fide favorites to win the league. And I work in that league, and I know. You're a UCLA fan. That's a push. You're a Raider fan, pain. You're a Laker fan, also pain right now. And you're a Dodger fan. So I don't understand. I mean, you have a couple good options there that are like winners, and two of those franchises are two of the most important franchises in all of sports, not the Raiders, but the Lakers and the Dodgers.
I mean, it could be worse. He could be a Padres fan, right?
Uh-oh. Let's see who's coming in to put an end to the madness.
Yeah, Festivus.
And joining us on the Carne Asada is our friends from the Ring the Bell podcast, Pods Talk podcast, that you can also listen to on the Believe network. We have Nick Kreider and former Padres closer Heath Bell. Thanks for joining us, guys. I know there's this perception that we hate each other, but I think we can come together for a coming of the minds, right?
Of course.
Oh, definitely. We can come together for a couple rounds.
All right, so I want to start off with this. I know there's a lot of stuff we want to cover. The show pods are coming into Chavez Ravine this weekend, but I want an update to hear it from you guys. After the trade line, you guys won the trade deadline. You got Juan Soto. You gave up the farm. Tony Gwynn Jr. told me that what you guys gave up to get Soto was legit. What do you guys? Is that the same thing? Is he right?
Do you want to go first and then I'll finish? Or
yeah, I mean, I think the haul was pretty tremendous. If you look at all the guys that were in that package, they were top prospects in organizations for so long. But gone are the days where the Padres want to be prospect huggers. We want superstars like the Dodgers. I mean, you've got a right fielder in Mookie Betts that we need to compete with. So next best thing, Juan Soto. And then, of course, all the other moves that they made at the deadline with Drury and Bell and Hader, that really hasn't panned out yet. I'll let Heath discuss Hader in a minute, but you gotta fork up some money if you want to be able to contend in this AL or this NL West.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely gotta. If you're in, I mean, the Dodgers are spending the money like the Yankees did back in the '90s or late '90s, to early 2000s. But it's one of those things. As name one team that has the best farm system that wins the World Series. The name of the farm system. Oh, this team has the number one farm system. This and that. Here's the thing. We can see it with the Dodgers. You can see it with multiple other teams. If you have a prospect that's a stud, he comes up and he plays in the big leagues. How many times have the Padres had their top 3 prospects come up and have not done well? Or even
Very
the top
often.
Top 10, top 5. So even though I didn't see the guys, and Tony Gwynn Jr. is, he's out there a little bit more than I am. Well, he's out there a lot more than I am. And he's probably seen the guys. I believe you give up your farm system for guys in the big leagues to win today. Because if you're trying to win tomorrow, what are you trying to do today? Lose? This isn't basketball. This isn't football where we will look at college and say, oh, this is the best college guy coming out. We really want him. So we're going to tank this year and lose all our games. I mean, you got to put guys in the farm system. And if they're not moving up quick, then what are you doing? I liked Mackenzie Gore. I hate to see him go. I thought he could have been a good pitcher, not a potential number 1, but a good, really good, solid 2, maybe 3 guy that we could have for a long time, and we lost him. But, to get Soto, to get Bell, to get everybody, that we've gotten, I think it shows the fans that they want to win now and they want to win this year and next year. And who do you have to win in the National League West? Who do you got to go through to win? You got to go through the Dodgers. And the Dodgers, every time they call somebody up, the guy's a stud. He does well right off. There's not too many guys that the Dodgers have called up that just kind of end up hitting 290 and stay there for a while. So it is what it is.
Now, I love the move. I personally, I think it's great that you guys go and get I want a competitive division. I think that's good for baseball. But since the trade deadline, I think you guys are actually playing better. But since the trade deadline, what are you guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's about 500, or are you guys above?
I think it's a little below 500.
Is
a
it?
Little bit.
Okay, so
we had a skid. We had a skid where there was some series has dropped to some lesser opponents. We've had some blown leads. We had some offensive woes, but it looks like they're finally getting back on the saddle. They've had.
I think the team morale was not good. We did the trade and
the Tatis thing.
2 days later, Tatis thing came out, and I think, gosh, in the locker room of what I've heard, guys were like, well, we don't need anybody unless they're here. We don't need anybody else, this and that. That just shows me that Tatis wasn't around all season. He probably wasn't trying to help the team, support the team or whatnot. I don't know this to be sure, but it's just one of those things. I think they just they were pissed and disappointed and hurt, because getting a player like Tatis back is like a huge trade. We were talking about if we don't make a trade deadline, it's going to be okay because you're getting Tatis Jr., a bona fide, superstar coming to the team. And then all of a sudden we go out and make big names and, we go out and get 3-4 guys, everything that we need. And we're also waiting for Tatis, and then it doesn't pan out. So I think the morale, everybody was up and then everybody went down, and it's hard to get back up after you go back down. It just really is. So
Heath, real quick, Heath, that's what I wanted to ask you about. The Padres made these moves, right? Everything's kind of coming together. Tatis is coming back, and then all of a sudden, you get hit with a suspension. Like, you think that really affected the team? Like, that put them kind of because they're expecting him to come back, right? And things are probably going to go a lot better. You've been in that locker room. How does the team react? Like, what do they feel? Like, is it more just disappointed in him? Or are they angry, or they're what are they feeling after something like that from Tatis, especially one of their leaders?
You're feeling disappointed. Somebody let you down. Somebody was, going to come through for you. And, it's almost like your girlfriend cheats on you or something, but she was really sorry. And you're just like, it can't happen. Like, no. Or like your best friend's girlfriend's hitting on you and then says, don't say anything about it. It's just something like, no, I can't. This just is horrible. This horrible news. And I think the team said, was disappointed, let down. And I really think that affects you. I mean, we all know it. If you guys got girlfriends or wives and they're just mad at you all day long, you're just not in a good mood. You're going to go and try to perform the best you can, but it's hard, when something is weighing on your mind and just like, man, why did he do that? We had a chance. I mean, and then you got to figure out how to get through all that, how to, it's like harder when you're closing a game and all of a sudden you're not confident anymore because the coach pulls you out, or something, defense isn't playing right for you, or somebody makes errors. It's kind of hard to overcome that. You easily say, oh, it doesn't affect me, but we're all human. It does affect you. I mean, it really does.
You bring up a very interesting point there about the human element, Heath, because I think, especially us fans, we just assume these guys are robots and they're just going to go out there. They're going to do the same thing. If you are projected to be a 280 hitter, you need to hit 280. And if you don't, what's wrong with you? And we forget, just like you just mentioned right now, your wife gets mad at you. There's other elements that can affect the game that are mental. So the hater thing I keep hearing, and I don't know if this is true, and that's why I want you guys to verify. He's got some personal stuff going on in terms of the health of his child. Is that true?
I saw that early on in the pregnancy, or closer to the due date, that they had some issues. But since then, I think his wife has come out and kind of clapped back a little bit and said that their baby's healthy on social media. So I think things are looking better. But in that period in Milwaukee where he had some blow up appearances was around that time that they were having issues. So there might just be some residue from the fact that he had a couple bad outings and he's still mentally not on the mound where he should be.
Yeah, right. I think you're all human. I think that part happened. I was also telling Nick about our last podcast about he was really comfortable with their catchers in Milwaukee. Okay. They had the scouting report. He had it down packed. And then when you go to a different team, all of a sudden you have different philosophies, how to get guys out, how to pitch to them. Because like when I was with the New York Mets, it was all about Rick Peterson was always about, this is how you pitch to guys. When I got to San Diego, they were like, this is how you get guys out. Darren Balsley. Well, both of them like, okay, how do you pitch to a guy? And then how do you get him out? And it's funny because Pedro Martinez was a teammate of mine and Tom Glavine in New York my last year. And they were all like, well, how do you get the guy out? I don't want to pitch to him. I want to get him out. I want to get him out with 1 or 2 pitches. How do you get him out? And he's like, well, this is how you pitch to him. And it's like, in San Diego is like, well, this he gets out on this pitch a lot. This is his really good pitch, and this is how you get him out. So when you're changing pitching philosophies of how to call pitches and stuff, or if you don't agree with the catcher, I mean, I've had some catchers where just throw what I put down and we'll get guys out. And I'm like, but I don't want to pitch that way. That's not how I pitch.
Yeah, it's your career.
Just listen to me. You'll be fine. And it's like, well, if I give up a home run and it doesn't go against you, go against me. So because some of his pitches were down in the zone, I saw were on the corner. They just didn't have that conviction. They just didn't have that. Go ahead and try to hit this. It was more like, don't hit this one. Yeah. Don't hit this one far. That's what it looked like me on the mound. That's what it looked like.
He secured a save in San Francisco, which we're happy about. He did look a little erratic in terms of his command, but Heath says it all the time about Bob Melvin. He's one of those managers that goes out and tries to exude confidence in those guys, right? They're having bad outings. He goes right back to the well and says, look, you're still our guy. Although Nick Martinez has been locking it down for a little bit as our closer, we're still going to need Josh Hader down the stretch. They need to give him that confidence back, and that's where Bob Melvin plays a key role.
So I was surprised at how hard the rest of those everyone in that clubhouse went after Tatis. I just didn't expect that. So you had mentioned, Heath, that it just seemed like Tatis was just not there all year. Is there just like I had compared him to Puig. I know it's not apples to apples, but it got to a point where, with Puig, people were so fed up over here that they were just saying like they weren't holding back anymore. You guys haven't even started paying Tatis yet. I mean, do you guys feel that he can change course and this is no longer going to be something that's going to hover for him? Or is he going to be now an issue in the locker room?
No, I think the difference, I used to talk to Adrian Gonzalez all the time about Yasiel. So he's not, Tatis was nothing like that in the locker room. I think what it is Tatis Jr. has all this young talent. He's a big kid. He's young or immature, I guess, or young in the head or whatever you want to call it. Hasn't matured in the head yet or whatnot, grown up, I guess.
He's been coddled his entire life. He has rich MLB parents.
So I take it like Pablo Sandoval in San Francisco. Pablo became really good, and then one offseason came back like 60 pounds heavier. And so what the Giants did was, okay, well, we're only going to let you go to Venezuela a couple weeks out of the year in the offseason, and we're going to set you up in San Diego so you can't eat 3 or 4 pizzas every night. And because that's just what he would do. And, I love the guy to death. The guy's great, but it happened that way. So I think Tatis will be fine. I think San Diego just has to pay attention a little bit more and just can't trust him 100%. But I think in two years, I think Tatis will understand, like, hey, okay, I should do this. I shouldn't do that. Because like in spring training, it was, did you hurt it during the motorcycle crash? Which one? And then when he apologized to everybody, he said, well, I'm going to have shoulder surgery, arm surgery that he never wanted to get done. and that's fine. He really wanted to play. I respect him for that. But then after that quote, he goes, well, so I guess I'm going to be in San Diego for all offseason. And it's like, you were told that you're staying here. That's somebody that got in trouble. But I think he's going to be fine. The talent that he has, if he just goes out and plays and learns, and I think Machado probably did the same thing in Milwaukee or in Baltimore, but we didn't know about it because we weren't there. And about throwing the bat when he gets mad at certain guys, and they weren't really a good team back in the day. So I think everybody has a little bit of growing pain, especially when you get to the big leagues when you're that young, because like Nick said, you're coddled, you're there, whatever you do, it's okay because you're so-and-so or you're so-and-so's kid. Like my kid's in Arkansas right now in college. Not once I was harder on him than any other kid that I coached. I was like, I'm not cuddling you. Like, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to earn it. So.
But that stuff, the stuff that was said, Heath, don't you, I mean, when you're in the locker room with those guys, wasn't that all behind closed doors? I just don't remember players, like I said, with Puig, it was towards the end, players openly going to the public saying exactly what you're just saying. He's immature. He needs to, like, wouldn't that be done behind closed doors? And be like, hey, man, get your shit together. We need you.
I will say real quickly, I think that a lot of it comes down to the fact that he wasn't around the organization enough this season that players were like, I mean, we might as well just say it for the media because he's not here to hear it,
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I mean, here's the thing. If a guy's not in the locker room, how can you get mad at him? If he wasn't supporting you all year, like, April, May, June, wasn't in there. I mean, because where are you rehabbing? And like my son's like, he told me, he's like, it could have been an accident with the cream. And I'm like, well, you're hearing all these different stories. Like, why didn't you go to the team doctor? Why is he back over here if he's rehabbing? So I don't know why he did it. I kind of believe him partially and don't believe him the other half, but it's just one of those things. Like, he just needs to grow up. And I think the teammates were upset because he wasn't there. It wasn't in the, it's different from being there every home game and then not being there on road games, or just showing up like once every 2 weeks. Is that so?
Yeah. And I also think a lot of it is, as well, is like, he's such a big piece of baseball, just in terms of a personality, that I think his players or his teammates want him to feel like, look, man, like, the world needs to know, the world needs to hear that, like, we're not exactly happy with what's going on. Like, you need to mature, you need to grow up. This isn't the first time that we've been upset with you, and we're not afraid to talk about it, in front of the world. And so for him, he's got to get a little reality check and say, okay, you know what, like, this is more than just about me. Like, I need to be more about my team. My image is so important right now, and my legacy is so important at 23 years old, but he's got so much time to rebuild his legacy and his career and gain the trust back of his teammates and the fans, of course, too. I see a lot of Padres fans on Twitter and Facebook and wherever they post, we're selling our Tatis jerseys, we're trading him in. Like, come on. Like, he's going to hit a home run, his first game back, and you guys are going to cry and be, cheers of joy.
You're going to love him again.
Exactly.
So, I think he's just young, and you do stupid mistakes when you're young. That's all it is.
So you guys are coming in this weekend, and look, the division's over, right? The division's over. However,
I still got a chance, man. Still got a chance.
That's true. That's true. What's the magic number again right now, babyface? 14?
14.
So I think
we did lose Gonsolin.
Well, look, the baseball gods are upset with us. The injuries are coming at the worst time. Worst time.
Now that we're talking about Gonsolin, just real quickly.
Yeah.
Don't you think there's a sliver of a chance that he could totally blow up in the postseason? I feel like he's one of those guys.
Look, I was telling these guys over here, because I'm the Prince of Darkness over here. You mean to tell me you're comfortable with Gonsolin going against Scherzer, Gonsolin going against DeGrom if you face the Mets, or even Max Fried if you get the Braves? I'm a little nervous about that. Look, the Dodgers starting pitching, I'm a little nervous come, the playoffs. But here's the interesting thing. I think you guys are going to end up in the 5th spot, because the Cerveceros, there's no way. They're too inconsistent. I don't think they're ever going to fight for that 6th spot. But I do see you guys overtaking the Phillies for that 5th spot. Would you guys rather deal with the Braves in the first round, or deal with the Cardinals right now, who seem to be like red hot?
I want the Braves. Or sorry, I want the Cardinals. I want nothing to do with the Braves right now. And if we keep this 6th spot right now, the road would be the Cardinals, and then if we beat the Cardinals, it would be the Mets. We wouldn't have to play you guys. I don't want to play you guys until the very end.
By then, all our pitchers will be hurt, Nick. So you guys you'll be fine.
Exactly.
What do you think, Heath? I mean, does it matter? I mean, do you guys actually, when you guys are playing, do you actually look at matchups, or is that just bad karma?
No, honestly, I think the coaching staff looks at the matchups. I think players, I mean, we look at it, but honestly, I think the Padres right now are just worried about just getting in, and they're not worried about the 6th spot, the 5th spot, or whatnot. They're just like, okay, let's just get in. Let's get in. And as soon as they get in, I think they'll start looking, but I don't think we're going to have any time. It'll be like, we'll get in and there'll be 2 games left. So it will be, all right, who do we play? I just really hope that, we have a month left of the season. I really hope the last week we start really getting hot. I mean, that's whoever gets hot right at the end of the season has the best chance. So I don't really care if we play the Braves, Phillies, Cardinals. I know we have some bad history with the Cardinals, but so did the Dodgers until they end up beating them. So it doesn't really matter. I just want us not limping to go into the playoffs. I just want us to get into the playoffs, and you just never know what could happen.
So speaking of limping, what are your biggest concerns going into the postseason? Like, what's happening with Sean Manaea? Why is he struggling so much?
Not getting the ball down. He's getting, I really think the pitching, it's the lack of confidence. I mean, I don't believe that the guys out there feel like they have to only give up like 1 run a game. I feel like they're not pitching with conviction. That's what I'm watching on TV and stuff. It just seems like they're just throwing pitches instead of going, I'm going to throw this by you. You're going to swing and miss at this. You can just see it, confidence, that body language and the facial expression. But I'm not in their own head. I'm not there. I know they're confident, but it's just what I see on the outside. And it's almost like they're trying to win, they're trying to go 100 pitches and go a complete game, but it's like every pitcher throws 100 pitches and threw 5 innings,
Yeah.
Throw strike 1, strike 2, let's go. Let's get people out in the first 2 pitches. I mean, Darren Balsley had a motto, 3 or less pitches. Get somebody out in 3 or less pitches. If you get somebody out 3 or less pitches, you can't walk them. And you're going to throw very minimum pitches, even if you give up a hit. So I just think the philosophy is a little bit different. If the guys could come together like they did early in the year, do you remember the starting pitching early in the year? They were fooling around, joking around with us, and I know winning breeds that, but they need to get back to that where they're a tight-knit family, and I think they'll go really far if they do that.
Yeah, just have fun. And I think right now for Manaea, there's a few things that are probably in his head. One, it's a contract year. He's going to be a free agent next year. He wants to get some money, so that's in his head. And 2, he might be losing his job. If he has a couple more bad starts, or I don't know how long the leash is here, but I'm not comfortable putting that guy out there in very close games right now.
So is pitching the biggest concern for you, Nick? Have they resolved their offensive woes?
I still think that the offense is the biggest concern right now, because 1, 2, and 3 I think are fine. Musgrove, Darvish, Clevenger. I think those are your 1, 2, and 3 of heading into the playoffs if you're making the playoffs. Bullpen, they've had flashes of greatness. They've had some woes as well, but there's definitely some guys that have stuff that I'm confident in. And I think they can reel it in. They're a little bit overworked. The offense has been the struggle. I mean, the identity just hasn't really taken shape. Like the game that they exploded against for I don't remember how many runs it was, but it was the first game back against Kansas City. They were attacking first pitch every time, and they were just stroking it. And throughout the season, they're walking here, taking pitches right down the middle, striking out, looking backwards K here, backwards K there. And so I feel like the philosophy in the dugout in terms of hitting just wasn't there. So they need to figure it out quickly, because they can't afford to go on another skid as an offensive unit.
So what do you expect? Because we got them in LA, and then we go down to San Diego. I mean, are you guys going to be playing us like you're playing for the World Series? Or, I mean, if you guys don't win 2 out of 3 in any of these series, what's it going to do to you guys' morale?
I mean, we got to win at least one. I don't think we've won a series against you guys since like last year.
Oh my gosh. Remember the beginning of the season, Nick, when we talked and how optimistic you were about the show pods and the Dodgers? Now it's resorted to you just wish you won one game?
Seriously, when was the last time we beat you guys? Actually, like the last time we won a game against you guys.
Babyface is really good at that stuff. Do you remember Babyface?
I mean, it was like last May. I think Dodgers have won like 17 of 19 like since then or something like that.
It's absurd.
I mean, I think this weekend is huge for the Padres just for morale's sake. Because if they come in like last time and get swept or whatever it is, 2 out of 3 games, if they lose that, I think it's especially with the Padres kind of on a high note. They just they won the series in San Francisco. They're coming in. Dodgers are coming in from a road trip. The Padres got to win some games just for their morale's sake. But like I said, if Dodgers come in and win 2 out of 3, if they sweep, it's not going to be looking good for the Padres.
I think if we get swept here in this series, is a hot take. I don't think we're making the playoffs. I think I think the team morale is going to be like, if we cannot beat these damn guys, like, what's the point?
Well,
are you really?
We got to figure something out.
I just don't think the Brewers are good enough to catch you guys, even if you guys slump. I mean, the Brewers are losing games to the Cubs.
Yeah, Brewers aren't playing that good.
Yeah, but the Brewers, it's just they're kind of a streaky team where we haven't really rebounded since Tatis. I mean, we haven't really played well. We finally played well against San Francisco. We didn't even play well against the Royals, and the Royals are a bad team. So
I'll leave you guys with this. We'll hop out on this. If for some reason, let's say the worst case scenario, you guys don't make the playoffs this year, what happens to you guys going into next year?
What happens to us?
Yeah,
well, first of all,
is someone going to hit the panic button? Is someone going to think?
I think AJ probably gets fired. We've talked about this already.
Okay, so here's the thing. I feel like we're making the playoffs.
Right.
But if I can guarantee AJ Preller getting fired, I want to not go to the playoffs this year.
He doesn't like AJ
at all.
For a couple reasons, though.
So you think that last move, that Soto, that's like his last shot? Like, so they got to make the playoffs this year. If they don't, he's gone.
I think it would be the best move for them. I really do.
I mean, at this point, AJ has gotten them Tatis and Soto. It's like, all right, thanks, AJ. Now let's get someone who can come and actually build a championship team.
Is there a scenario where you guys end up trading Soto in that last year if things don't go well for you guys?
Yeah, for sure.
To try to rebuild the farm system.
Definitely.
I think it's always, but you don't try to rebuild the farm system because you can just go and draft people. Do you think the Dodgers will rebuild their farm system? Do you think Tampa rebuild their farm system? The Yankees, the Cardinals through trades or through good drafting and good coaching in the minors, developing guys? That's where you'd get farm system. Everybody in the minor leagues throws really hard. Everybody can hit the ball really far, but can everybody hit a curveball? Can everybody recognize the spins? Can everybody hit their spots? Throw 3 or 4 pitches? I think it's the coaching staff and it's the developing in the minor leagues to help your big league club. And I could see us trading Soto if things don't go well in his last year before free agency, but I could also see us trying to sign him and say, okay, we want you here, maybe not a 10-year, 15-year deal, but we want you here for 4 or 5 years.
Our owner's been very vocal about wanting to bring him on.
Yeah, but Boris, I think Boris is going to force him to be a free agent just to get that. I think I know Alonso believes this, that they're after the yearly average. That's the high number that they want to get, because to turn down all the money he's already turned down, it's like, man, the next day you could have a catastrophic injury, man.
Yeah.
But here's
wouldn't
the
you
thing.
take the money?
Well, here's the thing. Let's just say, I know football's coming up and we're talking about baseball. Let's just say you're a first-round pick with the Detroit Lions, and they're just horrible. And then it's your second year, and they want to pay you $1 billion. Would you just say, okay? Or you have a chance to say, no, I don't want the money. I want to go play for a team that has a chance to win the Super Bowl. Where now Soto has a chance in San Diego. I think San Diego has a chance. Now they need to put some things together, or bring in a piece or two. It's hard to say what that actually is, but the Dodgers did it a few years ago and putting it together. That's kind of the thing. You got to figure out how to put it together. And it's really hard to get a bunch of stars and put it together with nothing goes wrong. And we've had the Tatis thing go wrong. We've had other things go wrong. So it's just been, okay, so now what do we do? So I think you give the Padres a year or two, like anything can happen this year in the playoffs. And I believe we're going to get there. The only way I don't want us to go is if, AJ's gone. And then it's just one of those things that I think the Padres have a chance the next couple of years to do something special. But they just got to keep building. I really do.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The hosts of Ring the Bell Pods Talk, the conflicted Heath Bell and who I used to think was an eternal optimist. And Nick, now I'm afraid I'm rubbing off on you and being the Prince of Darkness, Nick. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, if you guys just want to know more about baseball, listen to these guys. They're on Believe. They're on our network. Check them out. It's Ring the Bell Pods Talk.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Go Padres.
There you have it. The Ring the Bell podcast guys, Heath Bell and Nick Kreider. I actually think they're going to fire AJ Preller no matter what. I know that's probably more like Juan Ramirez thinking, doom and gloom and all that shit. But I think Heath is right. I think they're going to fire him because they need to find a guy to get the championship thing going. And AJ's just not that guy. Not a knock on AJ. I mean, he got him Juan Soto and Tatis, right? And he got Joe Musgrove and he got a couple other guys. But I agree. I don't think he might be the guy. I did find it interesting though that Conor McGregor walked up into that podcast, Juan, all full of optimism about your fighting Los Angeles Dodgers, and then you walked into this live. I didn't join the recording of that because I was traveling to Florida. And then you're a heel here. I am conflicted myself.
You could see it already in that interview right there.
Yep.
And for those of you watching, if you notice, Alicia's no longer on the show right now because
she had an anxiety.
She just couldn't take it. She says she had to go light some candles, get a limpia, just wash off this bad taste of this.
What Juan needs to do, una limpia. You're muted. It's probably for the best, but you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, it is for the best. Well, we're up against it, so let's just recap. Let's do something positive and think about recap last week's picks.
Okay.
Because nobody won. Nobody won. Not even our listeners. I mean, we had so much optimism. 5-2. Sports Empire went with a 6-1. And none of it happened. I, of course, went with 3-4. That didn't happen. El Ramos, I didn't see you on the live today, El, but he went 2-5. So,
what did you say the final line was? The official final line?
The official final
4-3.
line. It was 4-3. Yeah, the Dodgers went 4-3.
I'm just surprised that you're not reaching right now, doing the baby face thing and moving the goalpost, saying that you.
Well, no, like Juan liked to say, if the Dodgers would have won today, then I would have won, and I think Alonso.
No. That's what you like to say all the time. He's like, I was close. I should get points for being close. And it just doesn't work that way. So looking into next week's schedule, they have 3 games against the Showpads over the weekend. And then they have 3 games against the Gigantes. So only 6 games. So Alonso, what are you going with?
I'm gonna go second only because I got to do a little bit of pondering. I'm hedging. I'm a betting man, as you know, not just because Bet Online presents our show, but I'm just doing a little pondering. Go ahead, Juan.
I'm gonna go 5-1.
Wow.
I set the gauntlets. Now you guys can go ahead. Philip Lopez going 6-0.
Go ahead, Roger.
See, now I'm confused.
Let me tell you why can I tell you the reason why I'm holding off a little bit? I think you hit the nail on the head, Juan, where I think that the Padres are going to go in there and kind of play like it's their World Series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Giants one is always a toughie because the Giants play the Dodgers really hard.
But the Dodgers have swept them the last 2 times too.
Right, but I mean they're also facing the guys for the Padres. They're playing Clevenger, Darvish, and Manaea. And I agree with Heath that my man needs to figure out how to keep the ball down. But oh man, but also the Dodgers have their horses going too. I'm gonna go. Oh shit, yeah. You know what? Fuck it, 6-0.
All right. Now we're talking.
So I'm gonna go 4-2. And
Wow.
Alicia said she's going 4-2 as well.
Okay, so we have a push here, basically. Oh no, you went 5-1, right? Juanito?
Yeah, I went 5-1.
Okay. Also, for those of you listening that are still here after the Festivus episode, chime in with your predictions as well. As Juan mentioned, we like to hedge our bets with you guys and see who did well. I will say this: that it's interesting that the Dodgers, obviously, it's just the scheduling gods. They have 3 now against the Padres at Dodger Stadium, 3 at Petco, Dodger Stadium South. I think that series may be flipped on its head looking ahead because it's at their place. But again, it all depends too what happens here, because the Dodgers may also anything can happen in baseball. They can get swept since they're taking their foot off the gas pedal, much to Juan's disapproval.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I just think they play much better at home.
Oh, no, 100%.
And so that's why I think they'll take 2 out of 3 from the show pods. And I think they're going to sweep the Giants, because the Giants, I think, are just going through it right now. The Gigantes just do not look good. Maybe they've already checked out for the rest of the season.
Also, I mean, they're trying to stay healthy. But again, going back to the Padres, the insight that Heath gave, I did not know that Heath did not like AJ Preller. I didn't know.
Oh,
that.
Yeah. Sports Empire going with the 1-5.
5. Damn it. Wait, did you have your phone in your hand, Juan? Just out of curiosity.
No, I didn't.
Okay, just because I feel like there's it's too much of a coincidence for me at this point.
I've never seen them in the same room.
No, you ever seen that movie Snake Eyes? That's just what happened. It was a Snake Eyes moment right there. I didn't know that Heath did not like AJ. Honestly, I did not know that. And I also was a little taken aback by the eternal optimist Nick Kreider not being optimistic about that. But I did find it interesting. Remember how when we talked about the Tatis thing a little while ago, that the immaturity thing was a part of it, and it was interesting to hear that point come out from Heath as well. That it sounds like that locker room was not overly excited about what was going on, but also just more or less, hey, he's not here to hear it from us, so we're gonna take it to him. I mean that's one of the reasons why I think AJ Preller is also going to be fired, because normally that stuff is dealt with in-house, and the fact that it's not being dealt with in-house like that's concerning for me as someone that's been in a clubhouse before. So I mean, either way, I think he's done.
No, we shall see.
Yes.
So to leave this traumatic episode for everyone who was listening,
whose fault is that, by the way?
That's for Sports Empire. I'll leave this for you. The cream always rises to the top. The cream. So I may be down in this episode, but the cream will rise to the top.
Why would you disparage Randy Macho Man Savage like that after you have disparaged the Dodgers as you just did for an hour? For those of you that joined us, thank you. We appreciate it. The airing of grievances will continue again next week at some point. We will do a live. You guys will be the first to know. We'll tweet all that out. But seriously, thank you guys for joining us. We really enjoy the engagement as well. Even if it's Juan pretending to be Sports Empire in the comments, I don't know. It's impressive that you can do 2 things at once. I'll give you that. But for those of you that have joined us, thank you again. Give us your predictions on the Twitter, on the Instagram, wherever it may be. And as always, from your boys Alonso y Juan, Babyface Gimmick and Sky Roger, and the Princess of Picolande, who's currently in a sage room somewhere. We thank you for joining us, and we will catch you on the next one. Go Dodgers.
And this episode was brought to you by
I'm sorry. Bet Online. Yeah, it was a long one. Sorry. It's presented by Bet Online. Use our promo code BLEAV50, BLEAV50, betonline.ag. Bet Online, where the that presents the episode. So please go check them out. But we'll catch you on the next one. It's been a long day. I traveled across the damn country.